stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it.
Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Why don't black people own anything? Man, I done been all up and through the hood trying to figure this shit out. I done talked to some of my brothers and sisters. I even talked to some of our historically known oppressors. But you know they wasn't trying to put a nigga up on game. They acted like they forgot how to speak English. Some of them even got mad. And some of them just, ran back into their stores and locked the door. How the hell did we go from Black Wall Street to Black No Street? What the fuck is going on?
Hooty hoo. Welcome to the No PC show. It's Thursday night edition. We're going to see if we can get past some of these technical difficulties that we are experiencing here with the sound and everything. I'm going to try to clear it up. It's this new software. I just the settings just don't sync up the way I want to sync them up. So for those that are on the Facebook side, I put a link in the Facebook side. You may want to click that link and come over to the YouTube side. We have a chat box and everything over on the YouTube side. You can chat and you can see, especially tonight, you'll be able to see the Village Report. I dug that up. I did that over 3 years ago where I presented a layout of what Blacktown would look like, what reparations would look like, how are we going to move forward now that we are in the midst of, I think we've gotten past most of the rioting and destruction, and now it's going to come a time for what will be the ask. I know tomorrow we're celebrating, and I don't like to call it a celebration, commemorating the Juneteenth celebration. And for those that don't know what Juneteenth is, it is commemorating the final release of the last slaves down in Galveston, Texas in 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves. That there were like 19 states that still were participating in slavery. I think I got that right. I think it was a total of 34 slaves altogether. Let me see if I can put that up on the screen for us. So while we talk, we will put things on the screen. So if you see the screen, like I say, again, if you are on the Facebook side, you may want to come to the YouTube side because we're going to be showing a lot on the screen. We're trying to get more people to come to the YouTube. I know it's an inconvenience, but if you come and you click the subscribe button and you click the notification button, when we come on, you'll get a notification on your device. And just like going to Facebook where you got to log in or whatever, you can just click the link and it'll come up on your phone the same way. So if you could, subscribe and click the notification button. So at the time of before the Civil War, there were 19 free states and 15 slave states. During the war, the slavery was abolished on most of these jurisdictions, and a lot of people like to say, well, they fought the war and all this heritage thing. Now we got the removal of the flags and all this stuff. Great. You should have never been allowed to have the flag. When the Nazis were defeated, it became illegal to have any type of memorabilia from the Nazi side of the line. But this is where we were. This is where we were growing up in, and even though they lost the war, and we can give Lincoln credit for getting the Emancipation Proclamation signed and out there. But he said, if I could unite the Union without ending slavery, I would. So, it is what it is. And there was a lot of fuckery going on even before, because before the slaves were free, America gave away over 200 million acres of land. If you look at the map that we have on the screen, you will see all that territory that was left. So we added another 16 states after the war, and then you get all these people with these numbers. At the end of slavery, there were 4 million slaves that were free, but they were not the only black people in America. There were Negroes other places in America. So by the time we reached the 1920s, or somewhere about that, we had almost 20 million black people in America. And most of those black people were living separate lives. And it was a better system for us because we had already gone through the Reconstruction time, and during that time, we were not getting treated fairly. The things that we were able to accumulate, it just wasn't what we deserved or what we were promised after slavery. So your 40 acres and a mule was, nigga, you a mule, get on out there. So we built these towns, and we put our best foot forward, and we put our elbows to the dirt, and we came up. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get back to my video. And we came up with towns and everything where we could live among each other, where our money stayed in our community for like 28 days because we really weren't dealing with the outside community that much. We had lawyers and doctors and things like that, and coming up on the on the 19th, your president was going to do a speech in Tulsa where it was the worst slaughter. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for history buffs. It was a slaughter. It wasn't a riot. If anybody was rioting, it was white folks rioting and destroying and killing and pillaging because they were upset with the blacks, because blacks were not spending money with them. And often there's still a debate. Was integration the worst thing that ever happened for us? I just happened to be on the side that, yeah, it was. Because we had not had the opportunity to build ourselves up as a group, as all the other groups that come over and collaborate together, and then they're allowed to live together, and they're allowed to build them, even though most of them came up over here on some fuckery themselves. The Irish, the Italians, built a lot of their legacy on crime, but they weren't persecuted in the street. They weren't beaten in the street. They became part of the system of oppression for us. So I don't want to hear all that, well, my parents came from another country with nothing. Okay, I missed the part where they were drug over here. I missed the part where they were beat over here. I missed the part where they weren't allowed to be in their own communities without harassment and death. So, you know, I'm just past all that sugarcoating with other people. And this is not talking about not being fair. The reason you're seeing all this that you're seeing on TV right now, because America is not fair. Someone made a statement about Hollywood. They said Hollywood is racist because America is racist. Truer words can never be spoken. And just like I always say, I don't think you're going to get reparations as long as we're walking around talking about African Americans. For what? I stopped saying African Americans years ago. I stopped celebrating the 4th of July years ago. What does any of that have to do with me? A person who has personally experienced racism front hand on many occasions. Workforce and just living in the world, period. All our leaders that died and were killed while people had the nerve to sit around and act like, oh, it wasn't happening until George Floyd. No, you saw the video with Tamir Rice getting gunned down, a 12-year-old. You saw the video of Ed Gardner getting choked out. You heard the testimony in the Trayvon Martin trial. So we had kids getting choked out. You saw Rodney King getting beat to death, but at no point were white folks outraged until now. So you don't get a pass from me right now because that's bull crap. For me, that's just bull crap. We've been saying it for years and years and years, and you've been comfortably living your life the way you want to live it and not speaking up. So great that you're speaking up now. Let me give everybody a hand clap for finally stepping up. But you're not mad. You might be outraged. You're not mad like we're mad. You haven't suffered like we have suffered. It's going to take a whole lot more than money to correct, because I don't think you can legislate a man's heart. I think racism is ingrained into the soil of this country like cotton was. And there's a big debt that's owed to black people in America. But we'll talk about that later, because tonight we want to talk about us on this anniversary of Juneteenth. What are we going to do? How are we going to move forward? That's my question. How does all this work out? Because if we don't have a plan and we don't have a solution for ourselves, why do you think they're going to have a plan for us? They've been running their plan for the last 400 years. And we still got to wait in line to see what their plan says for us, because we got so many internal things that we need to straighten out. We got too many internal ills that destroy the community. So I'm going to try to stay on time today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this screen, and hopefully somebody can tell me if they can see it or not. You're not going to be able to see the screen on the Facebook side. I'm sorry. You can see it on the replay. I always post the replay later so you can watch it and you can see all the things that we put in there. But what we want to do right now, I'm going to bring up this slideshow. And then people can tell me if they see it. Hopefully, everyone can see what is on the screen. And everyone can hear. because this was called the Village Report, and it was called Rebuilding Our Communities. I did this in, I think it was around November 2017, because it was just nothing being said, no plans I was hearing. And I said, well, I think everyone should sit down and write what they think their plans are for their people, and then we can go from there. So I called this the Village Project, Rebuilding Our Communities. Where do we start? Again, Facebook people, if you want to see this presentation that is on the screen, you are going to have to come to this side over here. I'm putting the link in again for anybody that may come in late. It says, where do we start? We start with community. We start with taking responsibility for where we live. So we just had these riots and looting. Was that us taking responsibility for what we need? I don't want to hear the excuses of, well, now we can take over these places. You ain't got no money to fix up the places that you destroyed. So let's stop all this we got money stuff when we don't have money. Why don't you just stop spending your money with these people? And then when they have to leave them stores because we're not spending money with them, when they get an understanding, like they have the Puerto Rican flag over by Humboldt Park and the Chinatown sign over by Chinatown and Little Italy and all these, everybody is allowed to claim their community. And they do claim it, and they keep you out because you ain't opening no businesses in their community. So if we all come together and say, hey, we don't care what people feel about it. We're not supporting no businesses that aren't black in this community. Okay, sorry. Sometimes it takes a swing in thinking, a big swing, a big thought change to get us together as a people because we got too many problems. Resources. Keeping money and talent in the neighborhood. Just like I said, reclaiming the businesses, building resource centers inside the community for education, for business loans, for job training and job searches. We got to get the people in line. Either you're about our community or you must leave the community. No, sorry, dope dealing will not be allowed in the community. I'm sorry, it's just not going to be allowed. Because it tears up people on two ends. It tears up the dope dealer because he may go to jail or get killed, and it tears up the people that they're serving because they are becoming unproductive people. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're not about the community and what the community is trying to do, then we need you to lead the community. We'll get another community for you to go and wreak havoc and do all the nonsense that you want to do. There's just no room for unproductive people. We allow so much to go on because of what we've gone through. But we can't change it without changing the people. If we can't change the people around us, then we got to change the people around us. Neighborhood watches. Certain neighborhood communities have those now, certain ones don't. Community update meetings, working with, and sometimes the politicians can get on your nerve and not be responsive enough, but we still got to work with these people because they working with those people to get what we need. Finances, banking institutions, and churches. We're only going to support the institutions that support the community. So the bank has to have a direct interest in the community, not making up excuses not to finance and loan people in the community money for a business opportunity or something like that. Cut out all those additional regulations that keep people from growing. We got to create funding for children programs and education. So for those that want to go ahead and go beyond high school and go to a college or a training facility, we have to put those things inside our community ourselves. I hate when I'm listening to a show or something, they're talking about funding and things that are available, but you got to go over here to the Hispanic neighborhood or something to get this money for yourself because it's not available in your neighborhood. We got to build relationships between the church and the people. Everybody doesn't go to church, but that doesn't mean you can't have a good, healthy relationship with people that are in the church. The people in the church aren't against us. It's plenty of times I am in total opposite of mindset of what my pastor is, but he is my spiritual pastor. He is not my choice, what I make out here in the world pastor. There may be some influences that kind of keep me in check, but when I feel I'm right, especially like when we had to deal with Madigan and all these people, when you got to deal with the devil, I got to cut it off. I don't want to hear my pastor saying anything about working with devils. No, I refuse to. If there's certain things I believe, and you know, we got the church, and it's usually a center point in the community, and the church has to be an outreach for the people in the community, period. I had someone tell me, like, no, that's not what the church purpose is. No, that's exactly what the church purpose is. It's to draw the people in, to bring them closer to God, to help them to clean themselves up, and to give them a resource to do that in. And then you'll learn the word of God at the same time. Jesus knew how to get the people's attention. He fed the people first. Well, we got some fish and some bread. We're gonna feed the people, and then we'll have their attention, and then they'll listen and they'll hear and they'll receive the word. And we can't do that behind the walls all the time. We got to teach African history to our children, and we can't sugarcoat it. Just like all the people, I'm doing this 2 places at once. We can't sugarcoat it like they do, or like they attempt to do in what they call American history, African American history in schools. I can tell you the amount that I learned in school. I'll say this much. African American history in school was a joke. And luckily I did have a few teachers that were about us learning African American history and introducing me to politics and talking to us about Harold Washington even before he became the mayor, and the planning and things that they had to do in order to help Harold Washington to become mayor of Chicago. I'm sorry, I was trying to see messages on the Facebook side, but they got something new going on over there too now with the live stuff. So to come in contact with these people, like Mr. Phillips, like Dorothy Tillman, those people that were in the struggle with Martin, with Harold, to push a community that had an idea what it takes to push a community ahead. There are basic directives that have to be put in place. We have to protect the community from those that would destroy it, because this is our base. We can't allow you to take over the base. No. We have to take control of the commerce in our communities. Why is it throughout the United States, everywhere you go, there's no major black grocery chain? No, we got to depend on Pete's, Jewel's, Sam Club, Walmart. We got to depend on these people. And that's what people don't realize. Other entities were allowed to make money and grow on a consistent basis, where if you even tried, there's a website called WeBuyBlack.com, and they're trying to show you all the things you can buy as a black person. Because if you tried to go a week and only shop black, you would find it almost impossible. Because pretty much everything that we rely on comes from them. We got to support our black businesses in our community. I talked to a few stores that were ransacked, one that had been ransacked twice within 6 months of being there. Had gave out a few menial jobs to some of the people in the neighborhood when they could, when they needed help moving some stuff, and all that. And we talked about the community and that element in the community that was making it bad for everybody. Everybody wasn't out there looting and acting a fool. But we talked about there's an Arab store across the street from my shop. And we talked about they won't come in here and buy anything from the black ladies because maybe it's 10 cents higher. But they'll go over and spend their money with the Arabs who talk crazy to you, talk crazy to your kids, treat you with disrespect. Sharks, pretty much the same way. But in Sharks, they always throw a black woman up in the front. If you notice, you go into Sharks, there's a black woman in the front. And they trying to get in her pants. So it's always these type of things that we have to deal with in our community because we've chosen to deal with them. We have to promote education, schooling, and activities for the children where they can have some type of mentoring programs or something that we can push them into college and give them hope, and where they don't have to come home all the time and worry about gangs and drugs and alcohol and nonsense. You put a kid in a good environment, most of the time that kid's going to probably turn out better. We got to feel the needs of the community. We got to go around the community and say, what does the community need? What are the issues in the community? What the conflict resolution? If two factions are feuding or having an issue, we got to be able to go to both parties and say, where are you coming from? Where are you coming from? Where's the meeting ground? Because the meeting ground always has to align over what's going to be best for the community, not one particular party. And we have to have both those parties have to be in agreement. They both have to leave like this is good for everybody. They have to leave inspired about the community supporting both their sides. And finally, stopping the violence. It's no way around it. The violence in our communities throughout America is insane. So if anybody wants to be rioting and outraged, be outraged at how much killing and destruction is done internally with us. We can't be, like I told some of the ones, no, you can't be a selective activist with me. No, you got to be a full activist that says that you want to build the community, not tear down the community and all this. And you don't get to say, well, let the dope boys run wild. Let the shooters run wild. Because way too often, innocent people get killed in that scenario. You can't grow in despair. When the projects were originally built, they were beautiful buildings. Polish people and everybody lived in them. They didn't have the gates up across the balconies. Nice places. We move in. Then they become urban prisons with bars, and you're locked into despair stacked on top of despair. Hopelessness stacked on top of hopelessness. Generations living in poverty. Men being forced out of the home because you can't be there. And women being put in a head of household position, where to this day, 72% of black households are headed by women. And we don't hate our women and things, but they have a different mindset. They think differently. But they think about the welfare of the children. How are the children going to survive when the man is not around because you're dead, you're in prison, or you're just not functioning on a certain level to take care of your kids? I hate to have to tell a young man that was out there with the whole protest thing, because he said, well, we're trying to take over. And I said, you can't even take care of yourself. Why don't you focus on that? Why don't you focus on taking care of yourself, getting yourself in a position, and then people will look at you and respect you. It's so many building blocks to life that we have to institute. So that's why I really created this forum years ago. I'm going to open the lines for a few minutes. I'm turning on my microphone. 872-267-2552. If you want to call in. If you want to drop us a line, the show 1965@yahoo.com. We always, I never want the show to be just about my opinions, how I feel about a situation. It's got to be how we all feel. And so that's why we try to encourage people. I know tonight I can't read any of the comments on Facebook because of the new way they got this going. I'll have to figure out something next week maybe where I can scroll or something. But today I just wanted to put that out there again. I wanted to present that village report again. So when people ask you, well, what do you people want? What are you people trying to do? Because when it comes to reparations, I am not in favor of them putting money in people's hands. Not like that. I mean, if you're a retired person, then you are entitled to money as a retired person. You have lived your life. You have done everything. You have grown up in a oppressed system and got your freedom at the end. You deserve, I think, $2 million tax-free. Roll with it. I think black Americans deserve long forgiveness, because there's no reason that we should ever have to pay for schooling in this country that murdered, killed, and maimed us because we tried to get an education, tried to get ahead. I think if you got student loans out there, I think they should be forgiven. Period. So these are the points that I came up with. I think if you choose to go to school and complete a program, that education should be forgiven. You should actually get money toward, if you don't want to go to school but you want to start a business after training, just not, I want to start a business. No, let's get some training here. Let's get some type of foundation that lessens your chances of failure. And I think the government should support that too. I think there should be a black tax on every citizen of the United States of America to fund these things. Now, in the last couple of days, while everybody's protesting and running around, they've gotten some gay rights legislation put through. They've got some DACA legislation put through. But are they talking to us, or are they playing the horse and pony show? They're going to try to make things go back to the way they were? We got a few more arrests, but I don't trust anything. I don't count money until it's in my hands. That's just the way I am. And I don't think America is going to be able to live up to its creed until this psycho is out of the White House. I heard that Kaepernick was put on some type of practice team And it's just shameful. Now everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and wants to give an opportunity. But I had already said, and you can go back and look at the shows, we could have shut the NFL down anyway, even before it got to this. Because on opening day, if all the blacks could have came together and said, waited to kick off and then just sat down or took a knee on the field, what type of message would that have sent around the world? It would have sent a big message. It would have sent a message to all the sports teams, where the NFL is 62% black. The NBA is almost 80% black. So a lot of the sports entertainment comes through us. We've had the top football players, basketball players, tennis players, and so on. But I'm glad that a lot of the young players now with tons of money in their pocket are able to speak out and say what's on their mind. So I'll give kudos to LeBron for that. These corporations coming out with these penny ante suggestions because they don't want the veil pulled back on them. Well, we're going to donate $10 million. Please, you make billions of dollars. Nobody want to hear that $10 million stuff. Jordan came out and pledged $100 million over 10 years, which would be $10 million a year. A lot of these people are now finna to play the political game, and you have to come out and you have to say something, or you're going to be pegged on the wrong side of history. And it's a shame that, again, we will be the pawns in this game unless we come together and come up with some sensible things that we want, some sensible asks. Stop waiting on people to do stuff for us and ask and demand what we want. And those things I mentioned are definitely some things I think that can change the history of black people. Do we need our own states where we'll have an ability to grow? It's a shame when sometimes you just feel like I just can't take these people. Some days I feel like that. Some days I'm like I can't. It becomes disturbing. So we'll see as the protests go along. Thank everyone for joining. I hope the video nothing crashed on my end this week, so I'm happy about that. Just got to figure out the Facebook side, what's going on over here. Hopefully the sound was clearer this week. I'll listen to the playback and I'll see, because I can't hear anything. I got monitor speakers, but I can't hear anything through them, and that's a problem. But, every time some new software comes out, it's up to us to figure out the technical side of it. That's why we have a computer shop, RPC Computing, in Chicago, Illinois, 773-966-4457. Yeah, I put the number out there for all the little hating people that want to be asses and all this. So we will talk to you at a later time. Looks like my Facebook side is already crashed. Love, love, peace, soul, and that's all we always say. I'm out of here.
Step out of the car. I do have the right. Now step out or I will remove you.
I refuse to talk to you other than to identify myself.
Now
If your woman ain't no revolutionary, she'll persuade you to be a fucking slave for the rest of your days. She'll be grooming you on how to behave, teaching you how to coon and buck dance so that you can be safe. If that brother ain't no rider, soldier, no provider, molder of young minds, check it out. You got yourself a bitch. Think about the time that you invested in him. If he's wearing them skinny jeans, you a lesbian. For every 100 black women who ain't locked up, it's only 83 black men remain. Take away 1.5 million black men who might have benefited their women and their children. You don't know a war when it's waged against you, when it makes you drive your baby mama to the clinic just to kill your own. Ain't no somebody sitting on your throne. You motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga. Sandra Bland was a rider. She wouldn't have committed suicide, and you a motherfucking liar. It would not be wise to stop when you hear sirens and you see the police behind you, but you don't wanna die. They gon' shoot you if you run. They gon' say that you was going for the police gun. That's why they shot you like 120 times, but you was still coming, so they put another bullet in your lung. Them devils got you praying while they murder, because they know you on that bullshit. They steady with them full clips and body armor. They kill your women in the street, cause they figure you too weak to do anything about it. You some shit, getting fucked in your sleep. They poison you every time you brush your teeth. You don't care, you behave like a slave. A bitch from the cradle to the grave, on your knees with your hands out, begging cause you won't. You motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga.